Hey everyone, it's Reilly with another all English episode, but I'm here again with Josh.
Hello.
So if you guys listened to the episode, must have been a month and a half, 2 months ago now, Josh was on that one. I asked Josh to come back to talk about rugby. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I've mentioned rugby quite a bit. And Josh is pretty much the reason that I like rugby. We'll talk about that more in the actual episode. Before I forget, let's do the Instagrams. Mine is Reilly Sullivan XD. Sota is英語のそーた. Josh, do you want to shout out your Instagram?
Yeah, I remember it now.
Okay.
It's Joshu, Joshu .Lewis, Lewis.
All right, cool. All right, let's get into the episode. Okay, I started watching rugby with you when was it again?
2019, when the Rugby World Cup was coming to Japan.
Right. But we watched the Six Nations that year, right?
Yeah, so I think we were getting pretty excited about it. Or you were just starting, you didn't really know the rules or anything like that. So I'm a big Wales fan.
Right.
And Wales take part in the Six Nations, which is a yearly tournament with all of the home nations, we say, which is England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and then also France and Italy.
Right. Yeah, and I'd heard of the Six Nations before, I think when I was in high school. It's in February, right? So I just must have been over a weekend or something. I saw on the TV there was rugby on, and I'd never watched rugby before, but I think Ireland was playing, and so I'm, I guess, Irish. You could say Sullivan is an Irish name at least, so I was cheering for Ireland, and they ended up winning that tournament, but I really didn't understand anything about the rules, and that was probably, 6 years before we started watching rugby seriously, but yeah, that was my first kind of introduction to the tournament. So when we watched 2019, that was when the World Cup came to Japan. Probably, maybe that's the last time many people listening watched a rugby game.
Yeah.
At that time, Japan was pretty good. It was in Japan. Japan had been doing pretty well.
Yeah, people were excited about what Japan could do. And they made it to the quarterfinals, which was the first time that they ever done that.
Yeah, and they topped their group as well. They were topping their group. They beat Ireland, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Japanese people were excited. I know we watched quite a few of the games in bars with Japanese people.
Yeah, that was really exciting. It was nice to see all of the people come out and support Japan. I felt a little bit out of it being the only Wales supporter sometimes, but we didn't face each other, so it was okay.
Yeah, but of course we were supporting Japan too in Japan's games.
Of course.
We were Japan supporters. Yeah. Obviously, in the USA, rugby is not one of the major sports. But what's it like in Wales?
Yeah, it is the major sport in Wales. I think rugby is definitely the most popular sport and has been the most popular sport for a century, almost 2 centuries now.
Yeah, so growing up, maybe Japanese people go to baseball games, to Koshien or things like that, maybe pro baseball games, whatever, Giants or Carp or, Hanshin, whatever, one of those teams. So what are those kind of big sporting events in Wales?
For rugby?
Yeah, I guess so.
So when I was younger, it was really big to just go down every Saturday and watch your local team play. So I grew up, I mostly grew up, well, when I was interested in rugby, I was living in a place called Glynneath, or Glynneath in Welsh. And I lived right outside the rugby pitch. So on a Saturday, I would go down, you'd get you would get a tray of chips, or
fried potatoes, French fries.
French fries, yeah.
Forgot the word in American for a second there.
Yeah, you get some chips and mushy peas or chips and gravy, and you would watch the local team play against another another regional side. So there'd be like Glynneath or Resolven or Glynneath and Aberdare, like these really small towns in Wales playing each other.
Yeah, and how big are these, like, I don't want to call them stadiums, how big are these pitches that you're going to?
Yeah, they're not very big at all. The Glynneath Stadium was pretty nice. They had a stand that people could sit in and watch the games, that was roofed, because it's always raining in Wales.
Right.
But most places, that's not the case. Most people are standing by the side of the pitch, rain or shine, getting drenched or not, just watching the game. And usually the tournaments happen in winter, so it gets pretty cold.
Right, okay. So I'm imagining, I've never been to one of these, but I'm imagining it's like kind of similar to maybe a Japanese person going to a high school baseball game or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, when I was in America, we had high school football games, and so you would go to like well, most people in my area would only do it if they were in high school or they had a kid in high school. But in other parts of America, people will go, even if they don't have a kid, they'll go because like that's the closest football team to go watch. But I guess it's something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like school sides as well that play, and parents will come to watch that in Wales. Like I played for my local school side, in both primary school and then in comprehensive school, or kind of junior high school together mix.
Right. Okay, yeah, and then because of your love of Wales, and when I was probably that first Six Nations we watched in 2019, I was probably rooting for Ireland over Wales, because that's kind of my cultural connection to the British Isles is Ireland, I guess. But since then, or at least probably since the World Cup after that, I've been a Wales fan.
Yeah.
Because of you, basically. I mean, I have 3 Wales jerseys now.
You have more than me.
I have 3 Wales jerseys. I've got a Wales hat that you gave me.
Yeah.
And I've watched...
You've got a love spoon as well, a Welsh cultural thing.
Yeah, a Welsh cultural thing. Yeah, I've become almost... I don't want to say I've become Welsh, but I've learned a lot about Wales.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and I've watched... I've probably missed, since 2019, less than 5 Wales games, like live.
Yeah, and the ones you've missed, you've probably caught up on, right?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch them all live. But I've watched, of those, how many have there been? There's probably been 50 games since then.
Yeah.
And I've watched 45 of them live at, like, some of them are at, like, 4 a.m. because they're in the UK or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we are pretty big Wales fans, and yeah, one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this currently the Six Nations is going on.
Yeah.
And currently Wales are in their worst era, their worst time, pretty much ever.
Yeah, I think maybe some of your viewers or listeners who watched the 2019 World Cup probably think of, or maybe remember, Wales as being a pretty strong side.
Right.
And since that time, it's gone downhill massively. Now we're on a 15-game losing streak, 14-game losing streak.
I think it's 14 at the moment, but I don't know when this will come out. If it comes out Sunday, Wales may have lost their 15th game in a row to Ireland.
Or the curse is broken.
And we've won a game. But yeah, so there's 3 more games left in the Six Nations. If anybody is interested in watching, you can watch that. But more importantly, probably more interestingly for Japanese fans, is this July, was it July 5th and July 12th? Mm-hmm. Wales is coming to Japan to play against Japan's rugby team in first Kitakyushu and then Kobe.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're hoping to go to at least one of those games.
Yeah, it would be great if we could go to both of them, but it's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of Saturdays. I work on Saturdays, so
yeah.
Oh, it would be lovely though.
It would be great, but I can imagine. Oh, I guess we'll have to buy the tickets ahead of time. But if we lose that Kitakyushu game, that's a potential for it to be, what's the math? Like 19 games in a row if we lose that, I think.
It'll be
15, 16, 17. It'll be 18 if we lose that one.
18 if we lose that one, yeah. And we'll have a new coach by that time, hopefully.
Right. So that's another thing with Wales is they recently dropped, not exactly fired, I guess he technically resigned, their most famous coach, probably.
Yeah.
Like they're one of their most successful coaches ever. He was the coach in 2019 for the World Cup, and he was the coach back when the other time Wales were really good in, 2009 or something like that?
Yeah, 2011, 2012. We won 2 Six Nations titles back-to-back, winning the Grand Slam, which means you win every single game against your opponents. You don't lose a single game to win the championship.
Right. Which, last year, 2024, Wales lost every game.
Yep.
And this year, maybe they're on track to do the same. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, yeah.
Hopefully not. But they've played 2 games so far and lost both. One of them very badly to France. What was it, 43-0?
Yep.
Yeah, bad. But, and I hate to say this because I'm sure most of the people listening are Japan fans, but we're hoping that if Wales don't win any of the games in this Six Nations this month, that their win might come against Japan in July.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, Japan are not as strong as the 2019 World Cup, very much like Wales. They are looking okay. There have been moments where Japan look really, really good in the past few games.
Beat the USA handily last year.
But then they lost a lot to Fiji.
Which was a close game for about 20 minutes, and then Fiji pulled away.
Yeah. Which was a game that we went to live.
Right. The other game that we've seen in Japan, which was at Hanazono Stadium in Osaka. We watched Japan and Fiji and the USA and Samoa. And our teams, USA and, well, my teams, USA and Japan lost both those games.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can break our record of watching losing games.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, at least when we watch the game in July, at least one of the teams that we like are going to win.
Either Wales or Japan. Yes.
Either Wales or Japan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it might be more fun in the stadium because obviously the stadium will be mostly Japanese people.
Yeah. And yeah, so we're hoping to go to the Kita-Kyushu game. And I mean, Kyushu has been historically the most rugby-mad region of Japan.
Is that true?
I've heard so.
Okay.
Yeah. In the 2019 World Cup, when Wales trained at Kita-Kyushu, a lot of Japanese fans came out to support them, watch them do training, and they were even singing the Welsh national anthem, which is not an easy anthem to learn.
Because it's in Welsh.
Right, yeah.
It's not in English.
Yeah. Which, also, speaking of the Welsh national anthem, another interesting little fact is that Wales were the first country to ever sing a national anthem at a sporting event.
Right.
And that was versus the All Blacks in, I think it was 1906 or something like that. I might be getting it wrong.
Might have been the 1800s.
Maybe. But it was in response to the haka that they do.
Right.
And I'm sure many of your listeners know what the haka is.
Right, yeah. New Zealand and many of those kind of Pacific Island teams do a haka kind of dance, right, before a game. And so Wales has this big culture of singing.
Yeah, Wales is probably... it's known as the land of song. Singing in Wales is really big. I did it when I was younger in school. We do like choir and stuff like that, and even now like male voice choir is pretty big. Like my granddad does it. And if you ever watch a Wales game at the Principality Stadium or the Millennium Stadium as it used to be called, they often start games with these big voice choirs on the pitch singing the Welsh national anthem. And I think, like, I haven't been to the Millennium Stadium, I haven't sang the national anthem in Wales for a very, very long time, but that is probably I'm biased, but that's the best anthem ever. And the reason why I say that is because whilst a lot of other anthems talk about the monarchy, if you think about England, or
right, God
talk about,
save the king.
Yeah, talk about battle, like many of the other anthems.
USA national anthem, yeah.
Yeah, the Welsh national anthem doesn't really talk about that. It talks more about like the people and its connection to the country. And I think that ties into a lot why I love Wales, much more than, I love Britain, for example.
Right. Yeah, maybe we could do another episode on that. in the future is, a lot of Japanese people, I mean, I'm sure you've had this. If I ever mention Wales, people will say, oh, I've like heard of Wales, but I don't know where is it. And then kind of explaining, oh, it's part of the UK, but it's not England. It's different, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I've had to go through that so many times. Because I always say, if someone asks me where I'm from, I always say Wales first. I never say the UK or Great Britain. And only after they're like, wait, where is that? I say, oh, okay, it's in the UK. And then I've had people before, Americans, who have been like, is that in England? And I get really angry because...
Just about the worst thing you can say to a Welsh person.
Yeah. It's like calling a Japanese person Chinese, maybe.
Right. Which Americans have probably done before as well.
Well, probably not just Americans.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe we should leave it there. Looking forward to those games in the summer. Maybe we'll do another follow-up episode about our trip to the Japan versus Wales game.
Yeah, either we'll be gleefully boasting
or crying.
Depressed.
But yeah, and maybe between then we'll do some more episodes. If you guys want to hear more about Wales, Josh can come back and talk about more Welsh culture or the differences between Wales and England and how not to upset a Welsh person if you meet them.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners don't really know this, but like the culture in Wales and the culture in England, even though they are neighbours, are just completely different. I mean, like Wales is obviously the size of just larger than Shikoku,
right?
And there's only 3 million people living there. I think the population of Shikoku is larger than Wales.
Yeah.
But the culture is so different. And it's the same with Scotland and Ireland and, Ireland's not in the UK, but...
Part of it is.
Yeah. But the cultures in these countries are so different. So it'd be interesting to share that with you. If you're interested, I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, so I guess message us or message on the Daihon Nashi podcast listening Instagram if you want to hear
them.
More from Josh. Yeah, send a bunch of messages. All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.